Good morning. I'm Lillian Govis, Director of Communications and Public Engagement for Buncombe County, and this is your community briefing for Monday, October 14th. Today, we'll be joined by Dan Leroy with United Way of Asheville, Buncombe County, Asheville Police Chief Mike Lamb, and Deborah Campbell and Ben Woody with the City of Asheville. We'll get started with our County Manager, Avril Pender.
Good morning. As of this morning, we have 6,000 customers remain without power. To get ready for school to reopen, there will be changes to the food and water distribution sites coming soon. Be sure to double check sites before heading out. The current sites are AC Reynolds High School, Asheville Middle School, Buncombe County Sports Park, Black Mountain Ingalls, Fairview Elementary School, Swananoa Ingalls, Lester Elementary School, Linwood Crump, Shiloh Community Center, Lucy Herring Elementary School, North Windy Ridge Intermediate School, Pack Square Park, Oakley Elementary, and William Estes Elementary School. Speaking of schools, Buncombe County Schools is resuming extracurricular at high school activities today, as families are able. Participation is voluntary. Community care centers are open and operating at the Swananoa Ingalls, AC Reynolds High School, and 594 Barnersville Highway at Morgan Hill Baptist Church. These sites have water, food, Wi-Fi, showers, laundry, and more. If you have preferred toiletries and detergent, please bring those. Otherwise, they will be provided for you. Moving to solid waste. Wadesboro is resuming recycling today. Residents should place both bins out. For today, Monday, October 14th, Wadesboro will run normal routes for household trash and recycling in accessible locations in Lester. Please place both your trash and recycling bins out. Wadesboro will also have a trash truck located at Lester Elementary for residents that they are not able to access. Please do not leave trash at this site if trucks are not there. This is for household bag trash only. This will be from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Lester Elementary at 31 Gilbert Road today only. For tomorrow, Tuesday, October 15th, Wadesboro will run normal routes for household trash and recycling in accessible locations in Enka and Candler. Wadesboro would also have trucks located at AB Tech Enka campus at 1459 Sandhead Road in Candler from 8:30 to 3:30 for residents that they cannot access. Household bag trash again only. The landfill at 85 Panther Branch Road in Alexander is open from Monday through Friday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The transfer station at Hominy Creek is open from 8 a.m. to 4:30 Monday through Friday, once again for household bag trash only. Debris removal continues at critical infrastructure, including medical, sewer, and school facilities. Residential debris removal for Buncombe County and City of Asheville will begin this week. City Manager Deborah Campbell will discuss details on the city debris removal contract. Separate storm-related debris at the curb in the right-of-way according to material types. Separate storm-related debris at the curb in the right-of-way according to material types. Appliances, construction debris, household hazardous waste like pesticides and automotive fluid, vegetative debris, and electronics. Debris removal is not a one-time or one-pass operation. There will be multiple trucks and multiple passes, so residents do not have to place all debris out at one time or worry if they have debris left over. Do not place debris near or on trees, poles, or other structures. This includes fire hydrants, meters, and curbside trash carts. Do not block the roadway for large trucks or emergency vehicles. Contractors cannot pick up debris on private property. Do not attempt the cleanup process without proper protective equipment, including masks, long pants, safety glasses, gloves, and sturdy shoes are all recommended. Residents should not attempt to bring debris to the landfill. Mud or soil will not be accepted at any Buncombe County disposable facility. An update on FEMA locations. This week, FEMA will be at fixed locations in the community. Starting today through Wednesday, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., FEMA staff will be at Black Mountain Ingalls and the Swannanoa Conference Center in the Ingalls parking lot. From 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., FEMA will be at 572 Fletcher Martin Road, that is the French Broad Volunteer Fire Department in Asheville, the Swannanoa Library, Food Lion in Fairview, Emma Community Center, the Barnersville Community Center, located at 1675 Barnersville Highway, Newbridge Baptist Church in Woodfin, Nesbitt Chapel Church in Fairview, and the Broad River Volunteer Fire Department at 44 Broad River Road. From 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., FEMA is going to be at the Pat Square Park and AC Reynolds High School, and from 9 to 4 at Montford Star Academy. The Disaster Recovery Center at AC Reynolds School is open 8 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. We have an update from Spectrum this morning. Initial outage from Spectrum was 78,000, and they are down this morning to 37,500 customers experiencing outage. We are working to have a representative from Spectrum to join us soon. Our donation center at 6 Commerce Way in Arden is full, and we will not be able to accept donations at that location. This pause will allow us to distribute supplies that we've already accumulated out to the community. We recommend donations go to ABCCM, Bunk Tea and Soul, or Beloved in the interim. The City of Asheville donation sites at Harris Cherokee Center and in West Asheville at 298 Patton Avenue are not currently taking clothing donations. The City of Asheville recommends clothing donations go to Goodwill sites, which are providing vouchers for those in need for clothes at no cost. And now I'll turn it over to Deborah Campbell, City Manager of City of Asheville.
Good morning, and as was stated, my name is Deborah Campbell, and I serve in the role as the manager for the City of Asheville. As usual, I want to start by thanking everyone who have assisted us from near and far for your continued support to help our community recover from this devastating storm. We're on day 19 of our emergency response and recovery effort. A lot of progress has been made over these 19 days, but I know some of you are feeling like not enough. But I want you to know you have an incredible group of public servants, city, county, state, federal, who will continue to work diligently to improve conditions in the city of Asheville, Buncombe County, and beyond. As stated, the city of Asheville has focused on 3 areas: addressing the basic needs of our community with the focus on our most vulnerable populations and the broader community, restoring water service, and community safety. Since we know there's a lot of interest in hearing about the status of our water restoration efforts, we're going to start with the water update from Assistant Manager Ben Woody, and I will follow him. Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell, and good morning, Ben Woody, Assistant City Manager, City of Asheville. I've got a lot of information to cover today. As I think many folks know, our Water Resources Department has been able to make a tremendous amount of progress. So we'll start with North Fork Reservoir. North Fork, the reservoir that services the majority of our water system, we are continuing to feed highly chlorinated water from that reservoir directly into our distribution system. Our Water Resources Department is currently able to flow about 12 million gallons per day into the distribution system, and we're using that right now to support flushing of the water system as well as expansion of water into the distribution system. One thing we've talked a lot about in these previous meetings is our ability to reduce the sediment or the murkiness of the reservoir. Later this week, we hope to begin the process of an in-reservoir treatment that should increase the rate of settling in the reservoir, which will then allow us to begin treating that water through our water treatment plant. A little bit of good news out in the watershed. As I've said before, we have a highly protected watershed that feeds the North Fork Reservoir. We have reports from our staff that clear water has returned to the streams. So our streams that are feeding that reservoir are now feeding it with clean, clear water. So again, that's good news. Every day, multiple times a day, we have our laboratory staff that will continue to focus on bacteriological testing to make sure that as we expand water into the distribution system from the reservoir, we are making that as safe as possible. So we'll start with an image. We have kind of a map. We over the weekend, I think in response to a question, Clay Chandler, our PIO, Public Information Officer of Water, said we would provide a map. So we've tried to do that today. This is very general. As we've said before, we don't always know where water is going to go, and that's subject to conditions in the system. But what I will say is on Sunday, October 13th, so yesterday, the Water Resources Department was finally able to begin supplying water to areas west of Swannanoa. So that was a big milestone for us. Actually, the damage to the water system in Swannanoa was more severe than expected, which is almost hard to believe, but that were the conditions over the weekend. But our water maintenance crews were able to get that water yesterday to Hall Creek Junction. Hall Creek Junction is a major distribution system for us. That is a point where the water can begin to spread into other parts of the community. So getting the water to Hall Creek Junction yesterday was a major milestone that we were able to reach. As many of you know, and I've had people text me personally, we have water restoration in the Hall Creek area up to South Tunnel Road. We're preparing to begin sending water to the Fairview area and higher elevation areas of South Asheville that currently don't have water. We also have preparations in place to begin sending water to our downtown area and areas in North Asheville. And so as water begins to return to the system and we fill these pipes, we'll also begin turning on pump stations, because one thing about Asheville, we have a lot of elevation, and we'll be able to start moving water hopefully into higher elevation areas as well. And what you can see on the map, the area in red is what we have put under a boil water notice. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have water right now, but it means we feel we are close to getting water into the distribution system in these areas shown in red. And just for context, that is really east of the French Broad River. But I also want to remind residents that the process of restoration is going to be slow and incremental. It's going to move in a westerly direction. We've said that. But just to give some context for the scale of restoration, our water system has a total of 54 unique pressure zones that have to be managed and put water into. So there's 54 of those. We have 1,800 miles of city pipes that we have to fill with water and pressurized. But additionally, we have to fill all your pipes with water as well. So we're talking thousands and thousands of miles of pipes that we need to put water into. The city's pipes and your private pipes in your house or your business. And then finally, we have 37 water storage tanks that we need to fill to fully pressurize the system. We need about 21 million gallons of water to fill those storage tanks. So we have a lot of pipes and tanks to fill to return this system to normal. And again, we are filling those with non-potable water at the moment. So we're going to advance to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit what that looks like. I think Clay Chandler over the weekend kind of called this like playing a game of whack-a-mole. So I'm going to show you what that looks like with a couple of pictures. This picture you see in slide 2, this is a little bit earlier in the week, but this is an example of what a break can look like in a pressurized service line. So this is a very small line. And when it was pressurized, you can see that essentially it creates a geyser that comes out of the ground. So clearly the bigger the line that has a break, the bigger the water geyser will be. As we find these, we have to make these repairs to these pipes. Another good example from yesterday, this is a 6-inch water main off New Hall Creek Road. So this is very close to the intersection of New Hall Creek and Tunnel Road. We actually learned about this from a resident. So again, this was reported to us from a resident. The video shows the line that has water coming out of it. Now we've reduced the pressure on that line. That's why it's not spewing like a geyser, so to speak. But we reduce the pressure, but we have to do that because we don't want to further damage the roadbed that's adjacent to that line. And I'll note, as we find these lines and make these repairs, they're not always going to be easy. I think it's pretty clear to say that's going to be a difficult repair for the water department to make, given its location and terrain they have to deal with. So what I want to say today is a good kind of message for everybody listening or watching. Don't assume that we know where the water main breaks are, because we may not. And if you see a water main break, please report that to our water customer service line. The phone number for that is 828-251-1122. Again, water customer service, it is 24/7. And you can report water main breaks to 828-251-1122. So next, let's talk about flushing the system. This is a really important part of our recovery. What you see here on the slide is one of our Water Resources Department crews. We had to get them to stop and pose for us to take this picture. But we're very thankful to them and all they're doing. And again, flushing the system is going to be really important for recovery. So what you see here, this is a hydrant off Beechwood Road near the Hall Creek Distribution Junction. And you can see pretty clearly how sediment filled that water is coming out of the hydrant. And the reason that's not how our reservoir water looks. The reason that water is so dark and sediment is we have dirt and sediment that has entered our system through the broken distribution line. So there is, sediment laden water that was entering our system through these broken lines that we've been repairing. Also, when you lose pressure to a water system, a lot of water that may remain, that also settles to the lowest points in the system. So when we first start flushing, the water is going to look really bad. But I'll show you another picture. This is a photo that shows a hydrant later that day at Crockett Avenue in Tunnel Road. So we're getting close to the mall area. And you can see the quality of the water has improved as we're able to flush the system. And I'm going to show a side-by-side hydrant picture now. Just want to note the water will start looking better, but it is still not safe for consumption, and you still are under a boil water notice. The last picture I want to show about flushing, you too can help with recovery. Once water service returns to your residence or your business, we're asking that you flush your private lines for about 15 minutes. You can do this through your bathtub faucet or your outdoor faucet. When you do decide to do this, make sure that you have closed the valves to your hot water heater or any other appliances such as an ice maker. And what you see, this is a photo that I was able to get this morning. So this is a residence in Hall Creek, and they spent about 10 minutes flushing from an outdoor hose bib. And you can see the progression of the cloudiness that's leaving the water. So the picture on the upper left was the first flushing they did. I asked them to empty the bucket after each of these, and you can see as they flush their lines in their house, their water that feeds their house becomes progressively cleaner, still has sediment, but that's going to let you start to use it to flush toilets and things like that. So again, we're not asking you to go fill swimming pools or anything like that. We're still in a measure of conservation. But if you could flush your lines for about 15 minutes, I think you'll begin to see a noticeable difference in the quality of water that's coming to your house. And so I'm gonna end this today with, we're pressurizing the system. We're using the direct water, or water directed from the reservoir. It's highly chlorinated. We're doing as much disinfection as we can under the conditions. And just to remind everybody, you are under a boil water notice in the North Fork distribution area. You are under a boil water advisory in the Mills River service area. There's some regulatory distinctions between those terms, but the directions to you are the same no matter what. If you're going to use the water for drinking, cooking, or brushing teeth, you need to boil it vigorously for 1 minute. I would recommend, if all possible, to continue to use bottled water for those functions as best you can. But again, if the bottled water is unavailable to you, you are able to boil that water for 1 minute to be able to use. After you've boiled it, you also are able to strain that boiled water through some sort of filter if you need to do that. But again, after boiled for a minute, it is safe to consume, excuse me. And just as a reminder, the water is also safe for laundry, hand washing, washing dishes, and showering. Just be careful not to consume the water. And again, the city is advising that before you begin to use appliances, please flush the water out of your bathtub or your outdoor faucet. And I'm now going to turn it back over to City Manager Deborah Campbell to finish her remarks.
Thank you, Ben. As was mentioned, just want to repeat again in terms of the city's focus areas. We have 3: addressing the basic needs of our community with the focus on our most vulnerable populations in the broader community, restoring water service and community safety. With water and food distribution sites running and household trash service restarting, we are adding a 4th area of concentrated effort. And you heard this from the county manager: storm debris removal and management. I'm going to share a little bit more information about this additional focus area later in my remarks. But starting with our first one, with regards to just meeting the basic needs of our community: water and meal distribution. The water and meal distribution sites are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and are located at Peck Square Park, Asheville Middle School, Shallow Community Center, Lucy Herring Elementary, but I do have some updated information on that site, and Oakley Elementary. Distribution sites continue to provide bottled water for drinking water, for flushing, and meals ready to eat. Shallow Community Center no longer has butt water for flushing since water service has returned to that area. Working in collaboration with city schools preparing to reopen, some of the distribution sites will be relocated starting this week. The updated information on Lucy Herring Elementary is that this distribution site will close at 7 p.m. today and will be relocated to 980 Brevard Road, which is the former Kmart site and current at-home store parking lot. This location will open at 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. In addition to these sites, we continue to distribute water, food, and supplies directly to focus areas of need. These sites are seeing a lot of traffic, and we urge the community to be aware of drivers entering and exiting all of our point of distribution or pod locations. As in days past, we encourage the community to bring their own containers for bulk water. A limited number of containers are available at each site. In the last 24 hours, the teams at the city's distribution sites have distributed 48,499 bottles of water, 1,963 gallon jugs of water, 5,268 meals ready to eat, or MREs, and 22,723 gallons of bulk water. Please, if you haven't already, sign up for AVL alerts. There is a link on the front page of the website at asheville.nc.gov. This is the easiest way to make sure you get timely notifications of services coming back online. Bus service. Beginning today, October 14th, Asheville Rides Transit Bus Service, or ART, rolled out a second phase of modified transit service. This phase includes the following additions. Service hours have been expanded to the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Previously, it was 8 to 5. The service will still include flag stops, which means that you can just wave down the bus where passengers can board at their preferred location. The last outbound trips from the transit center, this is from our transit center, would depart by 6:59 p.m. 3 additional routes will be brought back online. N1, S4, and a portion of the 170 operating between Haw Creek and the transit center. With the addition of these 3 routes, ARC will have 14 of the 19 total routes operational, with some modifications made due to storm impacts. Staff will continue to assess options to reopen the remaining 5 routes that will not be operational and add service as soon as possible. And so based on a question that was asked yesterday, I'd like to clarify that ARC is providing service to the majority of the pod sites and FEMA assistance sites within the city of Asheville. Sites outside of the city limits of Asheville are not likely being served by transit. ARC service will continue to remain free of charge until further notice. Information about transit service availability can be found through service alerts or by calling transit customer service at 828-253-5691. Now, 4th focus area that we have added, storm debris removal and management. As we are all aware, Helene generated large volumes of debris. An initial assessment made by staff and our newly hired contractor suggests there are over 3 million cubic yards of storm debris within the city limits. And when I got this information, I was astounded. That is roughly the 3 million cubic yards. That is roughly 140 football fields stacked 10 feet high. Because community safety will remain our top priority, a private contractor, SDR, experienced in natural disaster debris removal has been secured. In order to dispose of storm debris quickly and safely, it is critical to establish safe routes and sites where the debris can be temporarily taken and managed before it is disposed of at a permanent site. At the temporary sites, debris is staged and separated into categories such as organic waste, construction and demolition materials, appliances and electronics, and household hazardous waste. Once sorted, the materials are processed to reduce their size, which will minimize landfill usage when they are taken to a final permanent location. Processing may include grinding trees to wood chips and compacting metals. All of these activities will produce possibly noise, dust, and smells. As a result, this activity will be limited to occur between the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. These times may change, however, over the coming weeks, and if so, new times will be communicated. So, where are the sites? The city has been actively pursuing sites that meet the space and access requirements for debris staging and processing. As we activate these sites, we will comply with all environmental requirements. While 4 to 7 sites in strategic locations are being coordinated, the first sites confirmed and permitted to receive debris are city-owned properties located in West Asheville at 65 Ford Street and the Roger Farmer Park on 71, located at 71 Deaverview Road. The city's ownership of these properties, along with their topography and accessibility, allowed them to become operational quickly. City staff have conducted door-to-door outreach to notify impacted residents about the temporary debris sites. This process will continue as new sites are brought online. Currently, the contractor is only collecting materials and dropping them at the temporary sites for sorting. I want to be clear, these will not be the only sites. And when the additional sites come online, we will share that information with the public. Our website, where there have been great improvements. We know that some of the areas still experiencing power outages and cell service restrictions. We've temporarily modified the Asheville City website to make it easier for those with limited service to load the important information listed on our website. You can still access the full website though as well. In closing, I'd like to again extend thanks to the City Council and all of our City of Asheville employees who have worked around the clock from day one. I'm just amazed at the resilience and dedication of our team. We encourage the community to continue supporting each other as we recover and rebuild. I would now like to ask Chief Mike Lamb to come up and give an update on public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Good morning. I'm Mike Lamb, Chief of Police for the Asheville Police Department. First thing I want to discuss is curfew. So we're going to continue curfew through this next week. And again, remember, there was a change in those curfew hours. So the curfew is 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Again, that curfew is in effect from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. So we did an evaluation of our call volume. The week immediately following the storm, our call volume increased 40%. So that was an additional 85 calls for service per day. Thankfully, that has gone down last week. So last week, we only experienced a 3% increase in our call volume. So as our call volume returns to normal, we will reassess and reevaluate the need for a curfew. And so we'll update you next week on what that is. So barricades, we have transitioned from light barricades that need officers to be there to make sure traffic doesn't go within those areas and people don't go in dangerous areas to large concrete barricades. These are in areas where the streets are damaged, where it's going to take a long time to repair. So officers will no longer be at those sites. So be aware when you're driving on the roadway and look out for these large concrete barricades. Freeing up officers from those sites allows them to do more patrol activities and do more crime prevention. And lastly, I want to talk about our drone team. So our drone team has been assisting Public Works in doing bridge inspections and also doing culvert inspections. They were able to use our drone software and technology to also do 3D mapping of these bridges. They've also been providing overwatch for patrol response so that our patrol officers can have an understanding of what situation they're going into and to have more information. And we're doing the same thing at FEMA sites where we're able to provide overwatch and security for FEMA donation sites. And that's the end of my remarks, and I'll turn it over to Lillian.
Thank you. Next, we'll be joined by Dan Leroy, President and CEO of United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County.
Good morning. My name is Dan Leroy, and I'm truly honored to serve as the President and CEO of United Way of Asheville and Buncombe County. And I'm grateful for this opportunity to share a little bit about the role that our United Way has been playing since this hurricane and for the long-term recovery efforts that we will be involved with. For over 100 years, our United Way has been about uniting our whole community to solve the toughest challenges that no single organization can tackle alone. And I think it's fair to say that our community has never faced a challenge like this one. In the immediate aftermath of the hurricane, our United Way has been focused on 3 priorities. First, we're raising and distributing donations to the partners who are engaged in the recovery efforts, both in the immediate and in the long-term aftermath. In addition to fundraising, this includes partnering with the city and county on receiving and distributing mass quantities of supplies to our schools and to our community partners who are working tirelessly to support local families. Second, we're mobilizing community volunteers to support our school and community partners' relief and long-term recovery efforts through our hands-on volunteer center at handsonasheville.org. And third, we're working with our partners at the United Way of North Carolina to ensure that the most up-to-date information about relief and long-term recovery resources and how to access them are available on 211. So people who are looking to support these efforts, I have some recommendations for you. So first and foremost, we're asking folks to continue to donate funds. As amazing as the supply donations have been, and they have been amazing, we can't stress enough that this is going to be a long-term recovery process, and the dollars that are going to be needed over a sustained period of time are going to be critical to our community's recovery efforts. Number two, volunteer. It's going to take a huge amount of hard work from thousands of community members and relief organizations to recover from this disaster. Our Hands-On Volunteer Center is ready to receive volunteers and to host volunteer opportunities for our community partners. So if you would like to volunteer, you can visit our website. It's handsonasheville.org. You can also get to that site from United Way's website, which is unitedwayabc.org. And you'll find a link to where you can sign up to volunteer. Now, if you are a community partner who is looking for volunteers, you can go to the same place and you can create these opportunities that will allow you to recruit volunteers for your projects. And finally, you can help by spreading the word about 211. This is for the most up-to-date information and resources related to Helene relief and recovery. Anyone in the state can dial 211 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and get a real person on the line. And I'm really proud to say that since the hurricane, we've had nearly 30,000 calls on 211 related to the disaster. About 6,000 of those calls have been from here in Buncombe County. And that over the last week, the average wait time for callers was about 1 minute and 8 seconds. So folks are getting through quickly. Finally, I want to close by acknowledging the incredible support that has been pouring into this community from our state and our federal partners and relief organizations, from the business community, from donors and volunteers from around this country. And this, of course, is in addition to the unbelievable outpouring of generosity and compassion and hard work from all of the local people in our community. From our first responders, our doctors, our nurses, our line workers, community partners, our city and our county staff, our neighbors and our volunteers. The way that this community has responded to this natural disaster is a testament to the kind of community that we are. Staying united as a community is going to be essential in the long-term recovery efforts, and it's the only way that we're going to get through this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dan. We will turn this over to questions from the media who are on a Zoom call. I do want to note, town of Black Mountain, the water situation remains the same. That water can be used for flushing, but should not be consumed or given to pets. If you are in the town of Black Mountain and that water distribution system there in Black Mountain. So, questions. Do we have any questions from our members of the media?
Yeah, this is John Boyle with Asheville Watchdog. Two questions for Ben Woody.
He's so glad that you are asking him.
Hey, Ben. Congratulations on the work y'all have gotten done so far. It's pretty incredible. I've had a couple people ask me these things, so I want to ask you on the showering with the water that's discolored. Can you tell us, I know it's sediment in there, but is this just essentially clay particles, or is there anything more in there that folks should be concerned about?
It's principally clay particles. Good question.
Okay, so yeah, and so y'all feel that it is safe for those uses, showering included?
Yes, and we made that determination in consultation with the Environmental Protection Agency.
Okay, good, thank you. And then I don't know if you can speak to this, but does this mean when water returns to these places, are restaurants or deli departments and grocery stores, that sort of thing, are they going to be able to reopen? Are you able to give us any kind of scope of the operations that can reopen?
So I'm going to give a partial answer, then I'm going to turn it over to Lillian. So the water that we will send is non-potable. So whatever limitations exist for a restaurant with non-potable water will be in place. But I think in terms of operations, that's probably a better question for the health department.
Yeah, and we've got our restaurant inspectors who are working with restaurants, so they just need to work with their folks from environmental services and get their reopening plan. But we've brought in additional help in that space so that we can be as fast as possible for restaurants who are looking to reopen. And I can confirm, I took a shower with the water today, and it worked great. 10 out of 10 would recommend.
All right, thank you.
Lillian, it's Laura at BPR. Good morning. I know we've asked before about the fatalities, and you said that that's being handled by the state medical examiner's office. I'm wondering if there are details that you're going to be able to release to us in terms of identities of the deceased, whether next of kin have been located, or any other information that the county will provide.
Right. So we are working with the Office of Fatalities Management through the state. It's a function of the Department of Health and Human Services to get that information. But we, like you, want to make sure that we are doing so with the appropriate level of diligence so the information flows to the proper channels. Next of kin has been identified, but we've been working on that over the weekend and hope to have more information available on that shortly. Using that United Way reporting a missing person through that function allows our law enforcement to make sure that that list is accurate.
Okay. This is Jennifer Emmert with News 13 WLOS. So where should missing person reports be made, and why does it seem to be so disjointed on who should get those reports and how those numbers are being counted? Do we know how many people are missing in Buncombe County at this point?
Hey, Jen. So like Dan just shared in his update from United Way, you can report a missing person through United Way. That list goes to the appropriate law enforcement agencies. One of the things that we've explained several times on this that makes it difficult to, we're looking for one list, right? But you've got the Asheville Police Department, you've got the Black Mountain Police Department, you've got the Sheriff's Department, you've got the State Bureau of Investigation. We had federal search and rescue, state search and rescue, local search and rescue. So we are getting all, as we peel off the federal search and rescue teams, they've completed those searches. That narrows down our lists, right? And so we're getting to the point where we will have one list, but we're just not quite there yet. And we are working on that in consultation with the state. We also need to make sure that that list is checked against the Office of the State Medical Examiner's list so that we are providing information that is clear and true. Happy to have a follow-up call. I just emailed you a few minutes ago, Jen. Happy to have a follow-up call on that if you want. Dan's coming up here too.
Just to clarify one thing about that, those checks are actually happening through the statewide call center, which is based in Cary. And so you dial 211 and you can make those requests, and those are being forwarded along to law enforcement. Don't come to our local United Way office or ask a local United Way employee. That is not our area. It's really by dialing 211 where you can make those requests.
And how is that list reconciled with, or is it with the Register of Deeds list? Is that all one and the same?
The Register of Deeds is done. There's no more work coming out of the Register of Deeds office.
So were there not people remaining on their list that would be part of the unaccounted?
Anything that the register, any home that or individual that the Register of Deeds was not able to make contact with was turned over to law enforcement. So Register of Deeds is no longer doing those door knockings.
This is Greg Parlier with Mountain Express. A couple questions for Ben Woody again. Sorry to bringing back. The
Yeah,
first,
we're excited to talk about the water situation, so bring on the question.
I wanted to see if there was any update on, we haven't talked about Beatree in a while. Is there any update on that reservoir? Has more work been done or any plan to get to that?
Yes, we continue to assess that reservoir, and we are working to put that back online. I will say currently Beatree is unused, and at the time, right now, the water is untreatable. So we're not in a position to really move anything forward with Beatree yet. But I appreciate the question because that is something we continue to work on.
Okay, and then I had another question. Your map that you showed earlier said, showed all the way up to the French Broad River. Water will slowly start coming back as you make your way west. Is there any expectation of when non-potable water will reach West Asheville? And is there any significant barrier that you already know about that would keep, any pipes across the river that are severely damaged that you found yet?
Yeah, so we earlier in the week, or I guess it would have been last week, we showed some damage at Exalia Park, for example, on Swanano River Road. That is still an area that's not repaired. I'm actually going to give an update on that Wednesday. So there's still a couple of spots like that that are really critical to getting water spread out into the system. The reason that the French Broad is loosely the boundary right now is because we have pressure zones on that side of the river that we're able to manage. So we have to be able to get the air out of the distribution network and get water largely into some of those pipes before we can move across the river into kind of the western pressure zones. But I hope to have more information on that on Wednesday, because again, I'll just go back to, we've always said this is slow and incremental and it's step by step. So I hope that, again, on Wednesday, we can have a better update on where we're at in full water restoration.
So at this time, we're still in a holding pattern. No particular timeline update for non-potable reaching the whole system.
That's right. I can't give a timeline outside of the pink areas on the map, because those are the areas that we first have to pressurize and repair any breaks before we can move to the other side of the French Broad. So again, we don't know yet until we're able to pressurize, and that's why I literally gave a phone number for folks to tell us when they see broken water mains. We have to find those first in each pressure zone.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Ben, Taylor Thompson with News 13. I'm so sorry, just while you're up there. Just for, I know you kind of touched on this earlier, but just for people, as water does begin coming back and flowing, when people, turn on their sinks or whatever and see water for the first time, what are those first few steps you're asking of everybody to do the second water starts coming back?
So once you have water,
we have breaks. Go to this. Let me
So once water returns, again, what we suggest is you take about 15 minutes initially to flush that water, and you want to do that through a bathtub faucet or an outdoor faucet, because those are ways you can flush your water and not pass it through a filter or a screen or an aerator or anything like that. So take the first 15 minutes and just flush it from one of those types of fixtures. Once you've done that, then you can begin to turn the valves on for a sink that you may want to use or a shower. Again, we would encourage you after flushing to still want to conserve, but you'll be able to begin introducing that water in your house. I forgot to say a toilet. That's probably the most important thing that folks can do. But I would still encourage folks to, as much as they can, be mindful of ice makers, hot water heaters, and things like that. But that doesn't mean you can't use them. It just means it's really important to flush your household plumbing for at least 15 minutes to try to get some of that initial sediment out of the water.
And what's the difference in a boil water notice and boil water advisory?
So a boil water notice means that we can confirm the presence of bacteria in the water source. A boil water advisory means we can't necessarily confirm the presence, but we have enough information to think there may be presence of bacteria. So that's a regulatory distinction, but the end result, the actions you take are the same.
Okay, thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Ben, could you speak to the billing? We've had questions about water bills and how that's going to be handled.
All that has been temporarily suspended. That's a good question. I know we've pushed some information out on our city social media and website, but I'll make sure that we can give a little more detail around that. But right now, all billing functions are suspended. Thank you.
Any questions in the chat, Angelica? Any additional questions from the media before we wrap up?
Hi, Lillian. I have one more question about the comfort care centers. Am I correct in understanding? So now we have a third one that has opened up. So two questions. One is, do we have any timeline for additional centers opening up? And then two, I know we've had questions about this sort of soft opening. How do people get on a list to know when those are opening?
Right. So I'm looking, I know the city is working on some locations, not quite ready to announce those just yet. So we'll have further information on additional locations. So that answer is yes. Water coming back online provides a lot of relief on those comfort care stations when folks are able to shower and use bathrooms at home and do laundry, which we can do laundry with this water that is flowing. Second part of your question. So in terms of soft launches, so we are able to drill down using our communication systems to send text messages to people in the area around where these open. So signing up for text message alerts at www.buncombecounty.org/code red or texting BC alert, doesn't matter, caps, no caps, whatever it is, BC alert to 99411. That gets you into our system where we can text you information that's relevant to the area in which you live. We do that with like solid waste updates and that sort of thing. And we also use the Nextdoor platform to go into specific neighborhoods to provide specific information relative to those neighborhoods. And then we work with our partners in those areas, our community partners who help amplify that information for folks in their specific areas of relevant information. So your question to us was, are we worried about equity in terms of not sharing that broadly? And so it is more equitable when we're able to get that information to the folks who are most impacted in the area surrounding that before we broadcast it broadly. And as a result of that, end up with long lines and things of that nature.
Forgive me, Lillian, but can you just remind us what the 3 comfort care centers currently open are? Swannanoa, Ingalls, AC Reynolds, and what was the third?
The third one is on Barnardsville Highway at the name of the church is escaping my Morgan Hill Baptist Church. Thank you. I could phone a friend on that one. Morgan Hill Baptist Church on Barnardsville Highway.
So nothing currently in the western part of the county where the water will return last?
It's in development, but not currently at this time. Remember those areas, Barnardsville, Swannanoa, Fairview, those areas were hardest hit by the storm and had the biggest, most significant devastation to structures. So trying to make sure that we are being responsive in that storm response to those areas.
Okay, thanks.
We appreciate y'all joining us for this community briefing today. Tomorrow we'll be joined by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers for an update on the work that they are doing alongside FEMA. And we will look forward to sharing out more information, and then we'll see Ben back on Wednesday for more exciting water updates. So thanks, y'all. See you tomorrow.